I just felt really compelled to do that, and I have no idea why, but we're going to keep that in there. Today, we're going to talk through 3 deadly words when trying to find a job when it comes to LinkedIn. These 3 deadly words are actively seeking opportunity. I see so many LinkedIn profiles that have those 3 words. It's really interesting. I'm going to talk through 2 reasons you should never do this. The first is discrimination. There's this weird, commonly held belief, and it may not be spoken about very much, but I'm just going to bring it up right here. But this commonly held belief is that if you don't have a job and you're seeking a job, you lost your job due to something that you did. And you know, the large majority of times that people are searching for a job is because they were either in a toxic work culture, they had a shitty manager, they were at a shitty company, they had a downsizing event, they worked for a startup and needed a switch, they realized that they hated that industry and they're kind of trying to make a change. There's all kinds of reasons that often have absolutely nothing to do with being a poor worker, but it's really strange that winds up being the perception in the industry. And it seems, unfortunately, that the older you are, and if you have actively seeking, the older you are, the more somebody will think that it's your fault. Whereas somebody who's younger, a recruiter or hiring manager might give them a little grace and say, oh yeah, they just graduated a few years ago, they're kind of making those pivots. And so it's really shitty that this is kind of what winds up happening. I almost forgot this one. So if you're a recruiter and you stumble on a LinkedIn profile and you see somebody who already has a job but meets all the criteria that you need for that role, that person is a scarce resource. They're not available. So inherently it kind of feels like, oh man, this person is really valuable. How do I steal this person away? Whereas if the same person or same basic criteria, they meet all the qualifications, but they say actively seeking opportunity, they're going to feel more like a commodity versus a scarce resource. It's this weird kind of mental trick that we have. We've kind of been pre-programmed to think that those scarce resources, we want them more. And so that's another thing to think about. Okay, number 2 is lack of discovery. Remember that LinkedIn is the world's largest search engine for recruiters. And so what they're doing is they have their own, recruiting tools for LinkedIn. They go in, they have all the refinements, search by city, search by location, search by job title, and they're going to get a pool of people who they can kind of sift through and try to find out who is the best candidates for their particular job. Now, if you have actively seeking opportunity in your headline, you're actually not going to be found because LinkedIn is a search engine, right? So you need to have a job title in your headline to be found. That's probably the key takeaway here, but hopefully these tips helped. The best thing to do to try to find a job, as painful as it might be, and to continue to make yourself feel like a scarce resource in the industry, is to build relationships. If you're trying to apply for jobs, if you're kind of screaming to the world that you need a job, unfortunately, it just seems like it's desperation. And I totally know that feeling of desperation because in 2014, I was hunting for a job for like 18 months and it was the most painful thing in the world. I screamed to the world that I needed a job, but it's crazy how recruiters looked at me as a commodity. They looked at me as like, well, we're going to skip over you because you need a job desperately. And it's like so fucked up, but that's the way the game is being played. So try to build those relationships, have coffee chats. I have a guide that's on my LinkedIn profile. It's like a 40-page guide about how to stand out, how to land a job. It's free. You can download it there. So check that out. Hopefully that can help. And we'll catch you on the next video.